Well, if you've been following me on this channel, you'll know that I've been emphasizing a challenge for 2022, challenging diabetics to go from diabetic glucose levels to non-diabetic levels in 6 months or maybe less. Today, we'll hear from some people who couldn't wait. They've already done it. Well, I fully expect that by the mid part of this year, the testimonies will come pouring in from people who have seen victory in their glucose levels as a result of this challenge that I put out for diabetics to cut those carbs and see non-diabetic levels in 6 months or less. But today we're going to hear from some individuals who've wrote in and said, I don't need to do this program. I've already done it. So let's hear what they have said, so that you will be encouraged that you too can do it. This is from a man who said, I've been doing what Dennis has been saying for over a year, no cheats. I love that, no cheats. It does exactly what he says it does. That is the diet he promotes, the diet I promote. My HbA1c is now 5.1 from a staggering 7.5. Well, some of you are saying 7.5 doesn't stagger me. I've got a 12 or a 14, but 7.5 is pretty significant. But anyway, from 7.5 to 5.1, he says, plus I lost 38 pounds. Many pros and seemingly know-it-alls said you need some carbs. My answer was simple. Which carb is an essential carb? To that, there is no reply. Thanks, Dennis and Benedicta, for these positive and informative insights. They really hit home and work great. Well, they do for most of us. They certainly have for me and so many thousands of others who have left positive reports and testimonies and comments. Here's another man. He said, it would have made my journey to below diabetic levels so much easier if your program had been available when I was first diagnosed. I've done well and I'm there, but it has not been easy due to having to make my way through the minefield of misinformation first. Thank you and best of success for your program followers. Well, he's right. There is a minefield of misinformation about diabetes and what it takes to beat it. But there is a fellow I trust, and I believe he just doesn't lie. And his name is Mike the blood sugar meter. And when you eat a food and test yourself and you find it jacks your blood sugar way up, listen to Mike and decide you're not going to eat that food that way anymore. Okay, a third comment as we're going through some of these people who already have beaten diabetes. This one says, my A1C is down to 5 from a consistent 10. And I did have 1.6 in one old report. I feel satisfied all day, all of this following your advice. Many, many thanks. God bless. Well, I've said it before. I'll say it again. I love things that work, and I do not like things that don't work. And sometimes I look at people that keep doing the same thing that just doesn't work. It didn't work last year. It doesn't work now. It won't work a year from now. And I'm like, well, why do you keep persisting in doing something that just does not work? And so what we're sharing here is a dietary attack on diabetes that absolutely does work. Here's another one. I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes back in 2016. 3 years ago, I found out about low-carb diets to reverse that. I've been eating low-carb since then. My blood sugar normalized within a month. Stop. Reverse. Say it again. My blood sugar normalized within a month. That included, he says, last fall, my doctor put into my record my diabetes was in full remission. Well, you can say it by many different ways, but it's good news however you say it. Full remission, I beat diabetes, I'm no longer diabetic, or my levels are no longer diabetic. Say it however you want to say it. It is good news. He says this included my wife also, who decided to try my diet after I lost a bunch of weight. I have over the last year occasionally allowed some of the better carbs back in, and it seems my insulin sensitivity is much better now, and my glucose levels have stayed normal. So this is awesome. This brought victory to him, brought victory to his wife. He can now eat a few of the better carbs, as he says, and he's still got great glucose levels. Good for you, my friend. Good for you. Here is another one who says, thank you, Brother Dennis. I have been with you almost a year eating low carb. I'm in the 5s A1C club now. I've lost fat around the midsection, even without exercise. My blood work is much better than it has been in the 14 years I have records for. So this individual has kept records for 14 years, not so great. Finally, he does the low-carb thing, and now he has surpassed all the records he's been keeping for over 10 years, 14 years. He says, I'm enjoying a diet that keeps me satisfied. Need to say that one again. I'm enjoying a diet that keeps me satisfied. And that's one thing you have to say about the low carb, relatively high fat, with quite a bit of protein in it. You're satisfied. You're not desperately hungry all the time, because any diet that makes you desperately hungry all the time is a diet you can never keep. You may do it for a month. You may do it for 6 months. But sooner or later, you'll back out. And that's the problem with the count your calories and make sure you keep those calories low. It may work. You may lose some weight. You may improve your blood work and your lipid panel. But if you're desperately hungry all day long, every day, every week, every month, every year, you're not going to last. But this fellow says, I am enjoying a diet that keeps me satisfied. Thank you for your ministry and encouragement. Well, I am an encourager. That's, I believe, what God has called me to be, to tell diabetics all over the world, Middle East diabetics, Hispanic diabetics, African diabetics, American diabetics, British diabetics, Australian diabetics, Indian diabetics, diabetics everywhere. There's hope for you, my friend. It's not lost. Diabetics can turn around and go back the other direction. And if you'll just be wise and get a little motivation, watch a few videos, read a few books, there's just no telling what victories you're going to see. And you could be one of these testimonies I'm reading, or maybe a person I will interview in the future. Here's a person who says, is there a charge for your diabetes program to help others get rid of the disease in 6 months? And the answer is no, absolutely no charge. But you need to sign up in this month of January, because when the last day of January rolls around, that's where we put an end to all the sign-ups. Now, why do you need to sign up? And the answer is because I'll be doing special short little videos of encouragement on an entirely different YouTube channel, and I'll be sending you out notices how to link up to that and how to watch those videos. Plus, I'll be sharing a few things in email. So you need to get signed up on the list. How do you do that? You send an email with the subject line, "Count me in," to grace@spiritofgrace.org. And let me say, thus far, the response has been a lot bigger than I anticipated. In fact, I had to hire a friend to start putting together a list for me because it got bigger than I was. I didn't think that would be the case. I figured I could do it myself, but they just keep coming in. And we're going to stop at the end of January. So you got to get signed up. No fee, no charge. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm a guy that has seen victory in my own life, and I'm going to share some things with you. You can try them. You can talk to your doctor about them, see what works, see what doesn't, check with Mike the Meter. And there'll be a lot of flexibility. I'm not going to be some dictator raging at you that you've got to do everything exactly this way. But I am going to say, within the guidelines of what I'm going to allow, I want you to stay with it. Otherwise, there's no point to doing this at all. Another thing I thought I would do is to kind of form a community of those of us that do sign up. And I'm going to have a web page or two where I'm going to let you share some things. And one thing you can do, I'm going to let you do a couple of minute, 2 or 3 minute videos about your own progress, or maybe you have some recipes or a recipe you want to share. So you can just take your phone and hit record and just hold it out there and talk for a few minutes and show us the final product of the food that you're recommending. And I'll take a look at it. If it looks good, I will upload it onto a web page, and also some of your comments as well. So it'll be a chance for you guys to interact with one another and talk to one another and communicate in one way or another. And of course, also on the videos, the short little videos I'll be posting, just fill that up with comments and encourage each other, share what's going on. Again, if you have a great recipe you want to share, or if you just say, hey, I'm making good progress, or if you say, I'm not making much progress and I'm kind of discouraged, share that. And we'll put up some of these videos. Again, you can hold up your camera and do a 2 or 3 minute video that way. Or I've got here something to show you. This is a camera tripod. You can put this on a table, stick your camera in here, and record yourself. It'll be a little bit more stable. Just don't get it too far from you, because otherwise your audio will be lousy. Keep it about an arm's length away, or maybe a little bit more. But you can upload videos about recipes, about encouragements, about progress you're making. You just get an A1C test done. You want to share it. Just don't preach to us. Don't give us a long 10, 15, 20-minute video. That's my job, and this is my channel. So if you want to do 15 or 20-minute videos, create your own channel. But if you want to share 2 or 3 minutes, that would be awesome. We'd love to hear from you. And as long as what you're saying is reasonable, I will try to post as many as I can. Now, if it gets too big, I may not be able to do that. So we'll see how that goes. What else? Don't ask me for specific individual advice. I won't give it. I've never given it. I never will give it. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a doctor. Let me say it again and again. And I could get in super big trouble if I started giving out specific individual medical advice. I won't do that. Basically, all I do is say, here's the diet that has worked for me. Try it. Talk to your doctor about it, etc., etc. So please don't ask me about meds. Don't ask me about, should I do this? Should I do that? I will not answer you. And it's not because I'm too much of a big shot. I would love to be able to answer you, really, but I can't. So don't ask. And one thing I want to ask you also is, if you can, get an A1C before you really start, just before we start, which is going to be on the last Friday of January, leading into the first week of February. Get an A1C before, if you can. Now, if you're living in a village somewhere where you can't get an A1C, or maybe you don't have enough money, you can't afford to get an A1C done, then what you could do, if you have access to a glucose meter, is take about 5 glucose tests over the course of a day. Do a fasting blood sugar, do a couple about an hour after you eat meals, do a couple in between meals, and then you average that, and then you can convert the average, and you can convert it to an A1C. So that'll give you an idea about where your A1C would be. It's not as accurate as getting an actual A1C, but that'll give you a pretty good idea. So, and there are conversion charts on the internet. If you use American way of doing things, which is milligrams per deciliter, you can punch in how many milligrams per deciliter your average is. Let's say your average is 115, and then you hit calculate, and it'll tell you what your A1C would be if that is truly your average. If you're doing the British thing with millimoles, and I think a number of other countries do that, there will be one for you too. You'll just have to Google it. So to wrap this up, one more exhortation. I can't keep adding names, so I'm going to do it. We're going to keep up through the end of January, but as soon as we turn into February, no more sign-ups for this particular challenge. So I hope you'll sign up over the next couple of weeks before January comes to an end, and we can include you. Again, I think we're up to something like over 500 sign-ups already, and it just shows no signs of stopping. Again, the email is grace@spiritofgrace.org. And by the way, when you do one of those 2 or 3 minute videos, what you're going to do to get it to me is upload it to Google Drive. And then you're going to share my email address. When it's on Google Drive, there's a way to right-click that video and then click on Share, put my email address, grace@spiritofgrace.org, and make me a viewer, not an editor. I think the default is editor, but I can't download it if you make me an editor. So just to the right of all that, as you're clicking on Share, it's going to say editor, but there's a drop-down box, and you make me a viewer, not an editor. That way I can download it, and then I can upload it on a web page where people can see what it is you have to share, a favorite recipe or how things are going for you.